Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about transit Uranus making a square, opposition, or inconjunct aspect to one's natal Mercury. Now, transits that involve a Uranus can be connected with freedom, independence, friendships, groups, clubs, organizations, disruptions, unexpected events, aspirations, and goals. Now, in transit, Uranus is basically making an adverse aspect to one's natal Mercury. I'm going to elaborate on what I mean by basically adverse aspect. Well, excuse me, that the transit, when you're talking about, squares and oppositions, of course, are adverse or negative. Transits in astrology, and the inconjunct aspect is neutral, but neutral aspects, of course, can have good and bad qualities in them. And also coupled with the fact that an inconjunct can often involve an adjustment or transition, which of course can give some tension, some exasperation. And so basically, collectively, I see this as an adverse transit. Now, again, when you have transit Uranus basically making an adverse aspect to one's natal Mercury, it may manifest in freedom, independence, friendships, groups, clubs, organizations, disruptions, unexpected events, aspirations and goals. These things may conflict with communications. It might be, or maybe you want some freedom and independence from communicating at this point in time, which might result, maybe in more isolation or introversion at this time, more so than usual. It can be something too where maybe there's some misunderstandings in communications with you and your friends at this time or acquaintances. Even maybe things are misconstrued that are said. Another thing too is that Mercury is connected with learning and assimilating information. So it might be something where maybe you're dealing, some disruption in your life or some unexpected events that are happening. There might be an unexpected change. Say if you have transit Uranus in the sixth house in your natal chart. If you have transit Uranus in your sixth house, that could be some kind of disruption or unexpected event at your work, employment, your daily routine. And if you were just trying to just learn something, you're just on the internet, you're trying to figure, or you might be just trying to figure something out. It could even be a simple, locksmithing situation at home, that something could happen where you might even have those difficulties even just trying to do, rather you're learning just some kind of mundane, thing and, general thing in your life, and, that would be beneficial to you, I should say. And another thing is that Mercury is associated with siblings, cousins, neighbors, people that were prominent in your early education. It might be where these people, maybe you're seeing some shocking behavior from them at this time, or it might be some situation where maybe there's an unanticipated or unexpected event that takes place in your life that might conflict with these people at this point in time. It could be too, and also you may have some kind of goals or aspirations that you're trying to fulfill, and the needs of I call them mercurial people, the siblings, cousins, neighbors, people prominent in your early education. It might conflict with it at this time. Say if transit Uranus is in your 11th house, it might be some goal or aspiration associated with astrology or computers, something with astronomy, electronics, innovation, altruism. And another thing with this too, that anatomically speaking, Mercury is associated with the arms, the hands, nerves, lungs, and breathing. Now, this could be, situation. Uranus is very erratic and sporadic energy. There might be, intermittent on and off problems with these, with what I just described. That's connected with Mercury, anatomically speaking. The could be something with the arms or the hands or the fingers. There might be intermittent pain. You might be if you have any nerve damage, I don't know if anybody else has experienced this. I've actually had like almost like shocking, sensations like in my hands. My chart is such where if you saw it, you would understand where nerve issues would be prevalent, with me. And anyway, the thing about this is there could even be erratic or sporadic breathing issues at this time you may be dealing with. Now, another thing too, Mercury is associated with local transportation and short journeys. So this can be something where even could be a disruption in your life or something unexpected, an unanticipated event might conflict with even just driving somewhere, or there might be some electrical issues with your vehicle that, for example, that might be maybe derailing you from places you have to go. Maybe there's some unexpected storm or light, there might be some strong lightning that might be prohibiting you from doing what you want to do as far as making that short trip at this point in time, as some examples. Or it could be that some needs of some friends or an acquaintance might either be, it might be making you take short journeys, maybe that you don't want. It could be errands that you don't want to do, or maybe they're just simply challenging other things related to Mercury in your life, such as your general communications, and maybe even taking that short journey. So it can manifest in a number of ways, of course. Now, another way that this transit may be expressed, it could be that friendships, they might conflict or challenge you in terms of just your general learning and your communications at this time. Say if the natal Mercury is in Scorpio, it could be learning things very deeply, or something with psychology or the occult, which can include astrology, forensic science as some examples. Also, too, you may be experiencing might be some disruptions that might be challenging matters with local transportation and short journeys. Say, for example, if the natal Mercury is in Sagittarius, it might be something, maybe a sports venue or religious place, congregation, or some kind of publishing location, or as some examples. Also, too, another way that this transit may manifest, it could be where instability at this time in some sector of your life may adversely affect your situation with siblings, with cousins, with neighbors, people that may have been prominent in your early education. Say if the transit Uranus is in your 5th house, as an example, it could be some instability with a lover. It could be somebody, it could be a child if applicable. Also, too, it might be where you might be having more difficulty in articulating things that are associated with Uranus at this time, such as it could be matters, say for example, if the transit Uranus is in your 8th house in your chart, maybe it's a computer virus that maybe you're having trouble communicating, and just anything, just in general, anything connected with Uranus, whether it's matters with your future. It could be that maybe either you don't feel like talking about it, or you're just having trouble verbalizing what you want in terms and articulating what you want in your future. It could be matters again with computers, the future, astrology, astronomy, electronics, altruism, anything that can, innovation, anything that can be associated with Uranus. Those things might be harder to communicate at this time. Now, another way this transit may manifest, it could be like Uranus is very sporadic energy, and it's on and off fluctuating energy. You may be experiencing, it could be some twitching, perhaps at this time, or spasms even, or intermittent pain, again in the arms, the hands, the fingers. And of course, that's associated with Mercury. You might be dealing, again, I'll reiterate what I said previously, you might be dealing with erratic or sporadic breathing issues at this time. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that. I'm back anyway. And your communications in general now actually might be be fluctuating. It might be where you might be talking to somebody one moment, and then a week goes by, you haven't heard from him or her. Or what happens is you might be talking consistently with somebody for a while, then you don't really want to contact that person for a prolonged period. I have this placement natally in my chart. I have Mercury actually squaring my Uranus, and my communications are sporadic to say the least, and very inconsistent and unstable. They're like what I just described. It's like, so I'll have communications that will be very frequent, very consistent one moment, and then all of a sudden something drops off, whether maybe I stop talking to the person or the other person may most inexplicably stop talking with me. It's very hard to have very constant, consistent communications during this transit, I would say, for most people. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.